Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for hopping on tonight. We're super excited to have you here. So if you're here to learn how to do congressional bird dogging, you're in the right place. I'm going to actually welcome everyone and then pass it over to my colleague Fabiola to get us started on some tech. Fabi?
Hi everyone, I'm Fabiola. I'm a center organizer. Before we get started, I just wanted to go over a few notes on tech. We have a chat box. Say hi, comment, and chat with each other as we go. Please only use the chat box for things related to the call. We also have a Q&A box, so direct your questions here. Questions in the chat box can get lost. If you are calling in, not using our Zoom application, you won't be able to use these features, but you can always direct your questions after the call. I also want to go over a note on our nonpartisan disclaimer. Important note, since we are in an election year, we are a nonprofit, so we can't electioneer. In other words, we can't get one candidate elected over another, but we can advocate for issues. We are focused on elevating this issue and pressuring all candidates to take bold stances. We encourage you to get politically involved with any candidates you want, but especially when identifying as your role with us, it is important that you don't engage in electioneering. I think that is all for tech. I'm going to pass it over to Ash to welcome us for tonight.
Great, thank you so much, Fabi. I'm Ash Sloth. I am the engagement manager here at the Center for Biological Diversity. I'm based in Oakland, California. I'm super glad to be here with all of you tonight. This year, we are working to make the extinction crisis a key issue in the 2020 elections. Center's been working on extinction issues for a long time, but we're really amping up the pressure right now. Together, we're going to hold our elected officials accountable for taking immediate action, and we'll build a powerful coast-to-coast network that pushes the US to become a leader in the global fight to save biodiversity and save life on Earth. We have 129 people on the call right now, and I'm super confident that with all of your help, we can make huge strides in protecting the wild this year and beyond. So I want to run over what we're going to be doing tonight. So we're going to hit the ground running this year with a sense of urgency to stop the extinction crisis. We're going to hear about what's at stake and understand why right now, in the primaries and in the election season, things are super critical. We're going to get trained how to bird dog. Y'all are going to get motivated and amped up to make the extinction crisis an election issue. And then we're going to wrap up by taking action to sign up to bird dog in your hometowns. So you may be asking, okay, cool, I'm in. What is bird dogging anyway? So bird dogging is a strategy to make sure that candidates are held accountable on their positions on important issues and answer questions about pressing concerns on camera. So during election season, each of you have a unique opportunity to get candidates on the record about issues like extinction that are important to you and to influence their opinions. And you can do this by seeking out a candidate, asking where they stand on this issue, and then video documenting their responses to share with others and with the public. We have been bird dogging presidential candidates. Yours truly has been doing that with many volunteers across the US, but congressional candidates are equally as important, especially because they're far more accessible to the public and are running for positions that decide important federal laws. So in letting candidates and office holders know what issues matter to you and your community, bird dogging can also generate really awesome media and media coverage that helps inform the public. Grassroots constituents, just like you, can often get officials to say things that they would never say in a more structured interview or on a debate stage. And such revelations are pretty instrumental as we turn our attention to congressional candidates during the election season and attempt to learn what they really think and will really do about saving life on Earth. Okay, so you're like, great, I get it now. Why now? Well, it should be pretty obvious, but if it's not, we're in a super critical time for species. We're in a super critical time for saving our planet. 2020 is a big year. We have experienced unprecedented attacks and rollbacks by the Trump administration to our planet and to wildlife. Every day of delay is a day that animals and plants move closer to extinction. And some of the changes that the center is calling for through our Saving Life on Earth campaign are really ambitious and are large scale. But in order to push those kinds of big goals through, we have to build a groundswell of public support. And remember, the forces that are driving so many of these extinctions, pollution, habitat destruction, climate change, they never cease, they never stop. And that's why neither can we. We need our candidates to realize just how important the extinction crisis is to voters, just like you, just like climate change, affordable healthcare, the economy, all those things. And that's why we need you on the ground, bird dogging these candidates in order to push them to take action. We need politicians who are bold enough to see this crisis as it is, and to embrace solutions, bold solutions that address and match the enormity of the issue. And that's why right now in this year, we're going to be pushing candidates, both presidential and congressional, to commit to these real solutions to the extinction crisis. And that starts with you, that starts with your voice and really implementing it on the ground. So I'm actually going to play some sample videos of what bird dogging looks like in action. We're going to play two videos, one bird dogging presidential candidate Andrew Yang, and then again, presidential candidate Tom Steyer. You may recognize the person asking the question. Here we go.
And so I'm wondering if you, as president, would address the extinction crisis by declaring it a national emergency and overturn Trump's rollbacks to the Endangered Species Act.
I would 100% commit to reversing Trump's rollback of the Endangered Species Act. We need to do everything we can to protect our native ecosystem so that birds, animals can thrive in their natural habitats.
Awesome. So as you can see, there was a hard-hitting question, and Andrew Yang, he didn't practice that, so he really gave quite an honest answer. So next up, we have Tom Steyer.
I hear a lot of candidates talking about the climate crisis, but I haven't heard any candidates talking about the extinction crisis. My family's from Woodham, and we love wildlife. The New Hampshire landscape has changed a lot. A lot less moose, lynx, 3 million birds have disappeared, and if you're a birder like me, that means the loon, the piping plover, and the red knot. And I bring this up because the extinction crisis is real, it's significant, and it's profound. And we know that when we address the extinction crisis, we address the root causes of it, but we need bold action to do that. So I'm wondering if you, as president, would be willing to declare a national emergency on the extinction crisis. Thanks.
So Ash, I have read The Sixth Extinction. Have you ever read it?
Yes.
Okay, so there's a book which is pretty seminal, which is making the case that in the history of the planet Earth, there have been 5 extinctions, and we're in the middle of the 6th. And then basically, they're now calling this era on the Earth the Anthropocene era because the most important impact on the world is us. We're having such a profound impact that now we are the driving force for the Earth, human behavior. And Ash's point is that we're talking about losing more than half the species on Earth this century. So and we don't even know what that means. Just so you know, they're like, I think, 8 million species on Earth, and most of them are tiny little worms that live in the ground called nematodes. So you're not going to miss them, but the world's going to miss them. And we just lost, as an example, 1 billion animals in Australia in these fires. That was and I haven't seen the updated number, it will certainly be higher than that. 1 billion, no one knows what that even means. 1 billion animals. So in answer to your question, I will say this. What I have been told, and part of our climate program, is that we have to keep open space. That really what's driving extinction, some of it's climate, but a lot of it's sprawl. That they basically lose the place they can live. They lose, and so they go extinct because they can't live the way they've always lived. So if we're going to actually preserve a livable Earth and not go through the 6th extinction, we are going to have to devote huge amounts of the world to open space. And if you look at our climate plan, there's a ton of it. A ton of it is about open space, about climate smart, but also extinction smart clustering of people in cities, public transportation, open space, preserving our parks, not drilling, not opening it up to leasing, making it possible for us to have clustered people and open space in the United States and around the world.
Awesome. So those are just two examples of what bird dogging could look like. And that's, again, we asked presidential candidates some pretty tough questions to see what they really thought and what they would really commit to doing. So let's go over what the overall goals of bird dogging are then. Some big goals here are to pressure candidates to go on the record about stopping the extinction crisis. This is an accountability tool for you. Then you want to get the candidate's response covered by the media. Remember, if you don't catch it on camera, it didn't happen. You want to elevate the issue profile so that more people know about it. And then you want to inspire others to join and to get involved, really build our people power. And you can actually do all of that just by asking a question in public. All right, so that's like the basic, pretty big overview of what bird dogging is and what it could look like. So I actually just want to take a poll right now. First blush. Quickly see who's excited to start bird dogging to protect endangered species. So Fabi's going to launch a poll and it should come up on your screen right here. Just first blush, whatever comes to your mind first. We need people just like you to bird dog, and I know that may be a little bit out of your comfort zone, but just let us know. Take this poll, we'll give it 30 more seconds. And just know that in addition to this training tonight, we're actually going to give you a thorough guide, and we're here to support you every step of the way. So final moments here, take that poll. All right, let's wrap it up. Thank you so much, Fabi. Okay, so it is election season, no surprises, and that means candidates are hosting events. So let's talk about how to find the events. They launching their canvases or attending barbecues, grabbing coffee at the local diner, blah, 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 blah. Sometimes events are posted only a few days or even a few hours in advance. So you got to be on the ball and ready to mobilize quickly. Your work is about finding candidates when they may not necessarily want to be found. This is a little bit easier for congressional candidates than for presidential candidates. But your goal is to find out where they're going to be holding an event and then to be visible at those events. If you can, have a team on alert or maybe just a buddy to be able to swing into action once you find where the candidates are. So here's how to find them. You can sign up on candidates' websites and on their social feeds. If there is a local office, and if you're targeting a rep, this should be pretty easy. You can just call them up or stop by and ask them for events that are coming up. You can use the list of town halls and other events that you can find through the Town Hall Project or Indivisible. You can set up a Google News alert, research candidate fundraisers on on political party time. Or you can ask allied groups and local activists that you already know for info on candidates' schedules. And then the hidden one here is to follow the followers. You can follow journalists who are covering the issue on social media, and even the candidate staffers on social media too. All right, so that's how you kind of just start the process, find those events. Now let's talk about how you're gonna plan your action. So first things first, the big ticket item here is, what am I actually gonna say? What's my question? Here's a question for you. Scientists warn that 1 million species are threatened with extinction. Are you willing to take immediate action to address the extinction crisis and to work to pass the Paw and Fin Conservation Act? I'm going to read that again. When you're with a congressional candidate, here's the question you're going to want to ask. Scientists warn that 1 million species are threatened with extinction. Are you willing to take immediate action to address the extinction crisis and to work to pass the Paw and Fin Conservation Act? That question will also be printed in your bird dogging guide. So you'll be able to read this question when you sign up and get the guide. The Paw and Fin Conservation Act, just as an aside, is a piece of federal legislation we are working to pass right now in order to address the extinction crisis and to protect endangered species. The key about this question is to keep it short and punchy. The other key about this is to practice, 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 practice. Depending on the event, you may only have one shot to get a question asked. So before the event, make sure you know the question well and can ask it under chaotic circumstances. Practice it in a mirror, practice it with your buddy. Just make sure that you practice it. It is very important to be comfortable asking the question and to be able to ask a candidate respectfully and clearly. So here's a list of other important items to prepare. Make sure you at least have a cursory knowledge of the candidate's background and their position on the environment. Make sure to plan your visuals in case you want to bring a sign or an animal mask with you. Make sure you know the venue you're going to, if it's a giant gymnasium or a small cafe. Make sure you at least have a plan for some different venues. And remember to review all your details. In the guide that we send you, we'll give you an action planning worksheet so you can go through this checklist yourself and make sure that before you head out with your buddy or your team, you review all those details. Okay, so you may be saying, well, right now, it's only just me. How do I get a team? Bird dogging is actually done best with a group of people that are dedicated to getting candidates on record and can take a variety of necessary roles. On this call, we have over 150 people. So chances are that hopefully there's someone in your area who wants to do this with you. Or maybe you have a buddy in mind who you'd like to take along. The ideal team should be nimble and dedicated to tracking down the candidates. I mean, this is because you really have no guarantee of getting a question answered. So in order to maximize your chances of successful bird dogging, bring as many people as you can. But don't be daunted or be deterred if you only have one other person. That's totally okay, but at the very least, you do need at least one other person to be successful, and here's why. Need someone to video it. Selfies are great, but a buddy to help you be the designated videographer would be great, because then they will they'll record you asking the question. And that's really what we need out of this situation, is video of you or your friend asking the question. Okay, so here are some basic best practices to be successful. You found your event, you got a plan, You practice your question, you got a buddy or a team. What do you do next? All right, first things first, you show up early. This is really important because these events are move pretty quickly, and if it's a seated event, it fills up quickly. That's why the next tip is to sit strategically. Try to sit in the front row if there is one. You'll also want to place your visuals strategically, and if you have a team, distribute them widely. So if you brought signs with the hashtag on it, make sure that they're visible. So even if you don't get your question asked, at least the candidate or the media sees your sign. Ask your question early. Don't be afraid to shoot your hand up right in the air. That's how I got my question asked. Try to be the first one. And don't take no for an answer. If a candidate gives you a wishy-washy question that you think is pretty milquetoast, ask them again. Be respectful, but also be clear. So you can say, sir, madam, that didn't answer my question. I would really love to know what you're going to do about the extinction crisis. Don't let them wriggle out of it. And then finally, follow in and follow out. Hound these candidates in the entryways and exits. That's often where the best, the juiciest material comes from, when they're shaking hands and kissing babies. Because these events are pretty dang scripted, some of our best bird dogging moments come when we catch candidates entering or leaving an event. So really be bold, be courageous, be in the candidate's path. Many candidates want to shake hands and meet as many people as possible. So the informal, unscripted contacts are really just extra opportunities or bonuses to ask your question, especially if you didn't get one asked in like a town hall setting, for example. Position yourself in the candidate's path, ask your question while you're shaking hands with them. And in this instance, it's really, really important to make sure you practice that question, to have it be short and powerful to gain their attention. And then just always make sure that your buddy who's doing the videotaping is there to capture the exchange. Again, be creative, be bold. We know this can be pretty socially awkward, but we know that each one of you are really committed to saving endangered species and stopping the extinction crisis, and we believe in you. Okay, so you're like, great, I think I got all this. Wait, what's this bit about the video? I'm not so great at tech, don't worry. Here are the most important qualities of recording. So this is really like the quintessential, other than the question, this is like the quintessential part of a good bird dog, and that's capturing it on video. Video footage is the #1 way we are able to hold candidates accountable for their responses and share it with the public, especially over social media. The clips that you saw earlier today, we posted them on Twitter, and that's how they gained traction and views. Remember, video it where it didn't happen. So here are some recording tips. Come charged and make sure you have enough storage space to take a video. Decide beforehand how you will record. We encourage you to record it onto your phone and then upload it to us later. But if you're a hotshot live streamer, that's okay too. Hold the phone horizontally before you hit record. Horizontally works best on different platforms. Don't cover the mic with your finger and try to direct the mic towards the action. Feel free to be focused and not do too much panning. Just stay committed to that action. And please don't cheer, because your voice actually is a lot louder since you're the closest person to the mic. Hold the phone steady, obviously. And these are some best practices for getting great video. Once you have that video, it's time to amplify it. So posting on social media with campaign hashtags and candidate handles, so actually tag them in your post, is a great first step. You can also forward the link to local press, should you so choose, or forward the link to local allied organizations who you think will be able to help amplify the video. But one thing you definitely should do is upload the video file to the center's Dropbox links. We will send you these Dropbox links. They're also included in the Bird Dog Guide. So all you have to do is go to that site, press the upload button, click the file, and there you go. This way we'll be able to help amplify your video and push it out over the center's social channels. And last but not least, celebrate. This is a great way to learn from your experience and to give yourself a pat on the back and your team or your buddy a big pat on the back. These could be sometimes pretty intense experiences, and you really want to celebrate your victories. Debrief with your team, and then share your successes. Share it with us over our Slack channels as well, and report back by filling out a reporting form. Link to that reporting form will be included in the Bird Dog Guide, and we'll send it out again over email once you send us your video. All right, so that is bird dogging in a nutshell. Pretty lightning fast and pretty exciting. Exciting times, everyone. Okay, so Fabi's gonna launch a poll right now because I wanna know, are you in? We'd like to know, are you willing to step up to the call to action and join us to bird dog? We need people just like you all over the country bird dogging, because it's when people like you take action nationwide that we build the collective power needed to hold candidates accountable for saving life on Earth. So the poll should be up on your screen. And if you're interested or even just curious in bird dogging, please click yes on the poll now. If you're considering this and hemming and hawing, know that we will send you a guide, and our staff is here to support you every step of the way. If you're on the phone, you won't be able to see this poll, but you can sign up through the follow-up email that we'll send out tomorrow. You could also sign up at that link tomorrow. Even if you say no now, you can always change your mind. I would say that just one last thing, we'll leave the poll up here for another few seconds, is that we are asking folks to be bold and courageous, because this is what we know is needed to make the extinction crisis a key issue in the election cycle. And so if you're feeling like, I just don't know, take a chance, join us. We'll be here to support you every step of the way. Go ahead and click yes. Okay, so we'll give folks just a few more seconds to respond. Again, if you're on the phone, you won't be able to see this, but you can say yes in an email, follow-up email tomorrow. All right, going once, going twice. All right, we'll close that poll. Thank you so much to everyone. All right, so we will actually open it up to question and answer now. And thanks to everyone who's entered really great questions. I'm just going to take a peek at them for 1 second and see what we have. First question here is, will we get that list of resources and websites to check out for candidates locations? Absolutely. You will get it in the Bird Dog Guide that we will send out in a follow-up email tomorrow morning. And it has links in it as well as checklists for you. We actually had a lot of folks in the chat saying they couldn't see the poll. So if you couldn't see the poll, but you are ready to bird dog, just look for that email from us tomorrow. And we'll send you the link in the follow-up email tomorrow. Additionally, if you are really amped to get it, you can always send us email at the help desk letting us know that you're eager to bird dog, but look for that email tomorrow with that link to sign up. couple other questions here is, which races should I be bird dogging for? Presidential, congressional, state, local? All of them, yes. The more bird dogging you do, the better at it you become, and that's just a really great way to get practice. But that said, the races we're really suggesting that you start with are Congress, for both your reps and your senators, and presidents. A lot of you don't necessarily live in states that presidents do a lot of appearances in, but you'd be totally surprised. Just yesterday, actually, I got an email from one of our volunteers who said that Pete Buttigieg was coming to a town near her in between the debates in New Hampshire and Nevada. So you never know, actually, when they just make a random stop somewhere to generate support. Do follow those candidates by signing up on their website. That's a really great place, or checking out the town hall link that you'll find in the bird dogging guide. Another question here is, how do we find the journalists following the candidates and get their Twitter accounts? Or alternatively, I'm going to add here, how do you find the staffers? A great way to do that is actually to go to your local newspaper's site and look up who are the political reporters. It's pretty hard to try to get access to some of these national reporters. So your local reporters, or like the biggest local like hub newspaper, like for the urban area, is a really great place to start. And then for staffers, you can easily just do a Google search or search on Twitter and find some of those handles. Next question is, do you have recommendations for how to link up with other people who might be interested in doing the same thing? I'm so glad you asked. So we have a map. Most of you have probably seen this map before, but it is our map where you are able to post events that you want to host, or find events that others have posted near you. If you happen to find a bird dogging event and you want to go to it, we would encourage you to post that bird dogging event on our map, and we will help you recruit other center members, people who agree with you, who are passionate about just the same things. We'll help recruit them to your event and connect you with each other. Alternatively, if you aren't really sure about if there's an event near you, maybe you live in a place where candidates don't have a lot going on, you can always ask us for help over our help desk email. But we would highly suggest that you start by picking an event and posting it on the map, so that there's actually something for people to RSVP to, and then we can help you do your own recruitment and help you connect with other people on the ground. Okay, next couple questions here. What are the do's and don'ts for bird dogging officials in constituency I am not a member of? I think that's a great question. I think it would be really, if you know somebody in a different district, it's totally fine to support another person in getting their elected officials on record. That said, most of these exchanges, candidates aren't going to know if you're a voter from their district or not. They may ask you, especially in a town hall setting, but you don't have to be a constituent of that candidate or that elected official to ask them a hard-hitting question. But that said, it really does help to have a local guide you if they can. Okay. Next question here is from Anne. I'm a volunteer with a congressional candidate now. Can I tell him about this project and ask him to respond on video? would that be cheating? And not at all. That's actually really, really great. That is kind of a softball bird dogging, and you should totally milk it. Milk it. That's a really great way to get a candidate on record without having without having to go through the process of asking those tough questions in public. That also will be really great video footage to kind of spur other candidates to doing the same. So I would definitely suggest you go for it. Okay. Couple other questions here. If a candidate says yes, they'll support the Endangered Species Act, or yes, they'll address the extinction crisis, would there be time to get more specific about what they do? Absolutely. And you should really, and if there is time, if it seems like a pretty informal conversation or the candidate is open to saying more, definitely press them on some specifics of what they would do. This helps them visualize and get concrete about what they're actually willing to commit to. And it may be a really good opportunity to see maybe some devil in the details. Either way, it's great for you to get specific with them, and also would be great to capture on video and share with the public. All right. Perhaps someone has asked for an example of how to phrase questions during a handshake, follow in, out moment. This is a great question, actually, because the sample question that you'll get in the guide and that we ran over here could be in those like very like quick interstitial spaces. Those it may be a little bit too long. So your bottom line, the bottom line about asking a bird dog question is that you do want to keep it short and punchy. And so your bottom line question could be like, will you address the extinction crisis, yes or no? And in those handshake moments, you really want them to just to say the word extinction crisis, and gives at least a couple second response of, and which they will do. Yes, this is what I plan. I love animals so much, blah, 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 blah. The question that we will give you, that you will see in the guide, is actually designed to be able to be asked in what's called a rope line or a selfie line, like what Warren does. So hopefully you should be able to ask the full question, but if you don't, feel free just to give kind of the boiled down version of that. Really great questions, y'all. Okay. Can you bird dog during lobby situations, or does it need to be amongst a larger audience? Will they always let you video them? Bird dogging and lobbying are different because lobbying is geared towards elected officials that are currently serving as public officials or civic officials. Bird dogging is for people who are running for office. So let's say it's a current representative. You can lobby them as their current role, and then you can also bird dog them as a candidate, but the two aren't actually the same. Which gives you an advantage when you bird dog is that because bird dogging exclusively happens in public settings, or maybe in Anne's situation where she asks for a video, because they're in public situations, it is totally fine to video them all the time. And those candidates don't really have a choice because they're in public. They're at a public setting. That happens. So great question. What will we do with these videos? We're going to post them on social media. We're going to take a crack at them just to edit them if they're like a 20-minute rambling. A lot of candidates do that. We'll just shorten it, include your question, and boil it down to the essence. But essentially, we and you also should be sharing them on social media to make sure that those answers really get out to the public. All All right, where did the term bird dogging come about from? This is the less glamorous side of bird dogging. It's actually a hunting term that comes from a dog flushing birds out in order to reveal where their position is. It was appropriated into the political world where voters and constituents flush a candidate and to reveal their positions. That's where bird dogging comes from. And then someone else, what was the question you asked Joe Biden and how did he answer it? Obviously someone has seen there are 2 videos of us chatting with Joe Biden, asking him questions about the extinction crisis. One is an organizer we work with named Tracy Red, and another is of me in a polar bear costume as our mascot Frostpaw. And we asked exactly the question that is printed in the Bird Dog Guide, which is, will you declare a national emergency on the extinction crisis? And neither time did Joe elect to answer the question succinctly or directly, which is pretty typical. And that's, that's the way you go. We keep trying. We keep trying, getting them closer to making that commitment. Okay. Other questions here. If there's an audience at the rally, is it all right to show their image on video or do we need their permission? It's totally fine to get them on video. They're in a public setting and you are showing them as a crowd, not doing an individual interview. Thank you so much for your thoughtfulness of that question. Okay, we have a question about our Center Action Fund, which is the C4 branch of the Center for Biological Diversity. This is a affiliated project of the center. Right now, as we're talking, we don't actually electioneer. We move to get all candidates to address the extinction crisis. But our affiliated project, the Center Action Fund, did recently release a scorecard on the environmental records of presidential candidates. And someone wants to know, do you have information on records of congressional candidates? We actually don't have that level of granularity. However, the League of Conservation Voters has a pretty wonderful guide on each congressional or sitting Congress member in both the House and the Senate. And you can just type in League of Conservation Voters, scorecard, and I'm very confident that the first hit you'll get on your Google search will be LCV's environmental scorecard guide to Congress. Okay, what's the best way to get already elected officials to state their stance so the public becomes aware of the extinction crisis and current candidates get them to take action or stop inaction? Already elected officials are, just as I was saying before, they kind of wear 2 hats. One is what they do, and one is what they campaign on. Great examples are Senators Bernie Sanders, Senators Elizabeth Warren. They went home for the impeachment they went to DC for the impeachment proceedings and wore that hat, and then left DC in order to go on the campaign trail and wore that hat. So when you bird dog, you'll be focusing on when the candidate wears their campaigning hat, not their elected official hat. And this is for 2 reasons. One is because you're going to be pressuring them to take positions to make it an election issue for them. The second reason, which is far more wonky, is they, as elected officials, cannot campaign while while on the job. They cannot do that. It is illegal for them to do that. And so they will be very, very, very fastidious about separating those two hats for themselves as well. So just a related question. So if your senator is not up for re-election, should you try to get them on record? Nah, don't worry about it. If they're not running for re-election, leave them. You only need to worry about the people who are running for election, because those are the people who really want your vote. Cool. Great. Let me just take one last look here over some of the questions. My current congressional rep only does Facebook Live town halls, nothing in person. Is a copy of his response in that format of use? Yeah, absolutely. If you can write in a Facebook Live, if you can chat in a Facebook Live that question and it gets answered, absolutely. If you know how to record from your computer of that interaction, that's great. Or you can just click the link to that Facebook Live later or download the video, and that totally works. That's a really great question, and a great question about how to like virtually bird dog someone. Thanks for bringing that up. Okay. If my representative has already co-sponsored the PAW and Fin Act, should I still bird dog them about the extinction crisis? So just again, if your representative has co-sponsored it, the PAW and Fin Act, and they're running for re-election, and you're talking to them wearing their campaigning hat, you may want to give them a couple softball bird dog questions. Senator so-and-so, I know that you already co-sponsored blanky blank. How are you going, how are you going to go beyond that? How are you going to do better? How are you going to make sure that the extinction crisis becomes a priority issue for all of the Senate or whatever? If that's true for you, and there may be many of you on the call tonight whose reps have already sponsored, let us know and we can help wordsmith those questions. But you basically want to give them like a softball question so they can go on record on camera as being a champ, and kind of bolster the issue overall. All right. Cool. Just taking a look at some of these other questions here. How should I dress for a bird dog? Just like yourself. I mean, I would suggest maybe not pajamas, but dress as the regular voter you are. If dressing up in something more presentable makes you feel great, do it. But don't feel like you need to wear Sunday best in order to bird dog. Great. Can we send a copy of the legislation? Sure, absolutely. We can, there are a couple, if you look on our website, and you can find those materials through the Center's main site. There are a couple fact sheets and frequently asked questions about the PAW and Fin Act that may also be quite helpful. And certainly if you just do a simple Google search for PAW and Fin Conservation Act, you'll easily be able to find copies of the legislation through Google. Great. All right. Let me just do one last check for some of these questions here. Can you help us find local partners? We are working right now with some great national partners. Endangered Species Coalition certainly is one of them. We can definitely work with you to find other folks to join you for those events, and let you know if Endangered Species Coalition or any other partners are hosting things in your area. Can we send out our videos to the local news? Absolutely. That's certainly one thing you're encouraged to do, but really the primary thing you should be focusing on, like, let's say you got that video, really focus on uploading it to our Dropbox site so that we can help amplify it on our social channels, as well as amplify whatever you posted on your social channels. Great. I think that is all the major questions here. We actually had so many questions come in that I just, we won't be able to answer all of them. But if you had a question that you asked here tonight and you didn't get it answered, you can always send us an email at our help desk line. And we'll be happy to do our best to answer it. So with that, we're going to conclude for the night. I just want to thank all of you once again for being on the call tonight and for taking the leap with us, bird dogging. Maybe it's something you've never done, but it's obviously very important. And I know that all of you want to save the planet, save our wildlife. So thank you so much. We know that when we organize together, we build the power needed to win. It's because of people power that we're able to be victorious. And I'm so thankful for all of you joining us tonight. So we'll be in touch with you with a follow-up email tomorrow. Please keep your eyes peeled for that. That's where you'll find the guide. So check your email. And once again, thank you so much and hope all of you have a great rest of your evening. Okay, bye-bye.